Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode. We're going to be starting a brand new route with Keith by popular vote. Actually I think Keith won like 100%, so we're going to do Keith.
状況把握は基本だな。
We're doing the common route starting with chapter 1. I'm not going to do the first two chapters like fully in this playthrough. I'm going to do only Keith's options so you guys can see which options get Keith, what Keith's response is, and then I'm going to be reading fully from chapter 3. So start chapter 1. We're going to skip to an input.
さすがに疲れたな。
So this scene happens right after Rosie sees everyone for the first time. And Jodo looks like he's retired to the guest room. The Inculum special guest room. I, Jodo Stewart, wear a smile to match the extravagant cabin despite sight eternally. In front of me are Nat Norden, the premier of the Kingdom of Quid, and Ryle Wielder, the Marquis of Sorcier. These two, the creators of this vessel, welcomed me as a member of the royal house, but this reception has gone on for some time. My twin brother Alan, the fourth prince, is having more trouble hiding his boredom.
ジオルド殿下、アラン殿下、本当に我らがビンクルム号にようこそお越しくださいました。
このような良き日にお二人にいらしていただけて心より感謝を申し上げます。
こちらこそお招きいただき誠に光栄です。クイード国の造船技術はさすがですね。とても快適に過ごせそうです。
ええ、そうでしょう。調度品もすべて一級品を揃えさせていただきました。ベッドはすべて特注ですし、こちらのティーカップに描かれている鳥はクイードでは縁起が良いと言われているもので。
Premier Norden smiles at these compliments as the formalities are exchanged, but I can tell that he is watching me like a hawk. As the third prince of the Kingdom of Sorcier, he is evaluating me.
接待などは表向き。実際はソルシエの情勢を探り、今後有益な取引ができるよう立ち回りを考えるのが本来の目的なのだろう。まあ、それはこちらも同じか。
As the third prince of Sorcier, I had best be careful not to do anything that may prove detrimental. I have never had any particular strong relationships with Quid. After all, our countries aren't even on the same continent. As our nations are far too apart to visit easily, it was inevitable that we would probe each other for more information like this.
そしてビンクルム号の名前には絆という意味が込められております。クイード、ソルシエ両国、これから手に手を取って一層の発展を遂げていきたいものですな。
そうですね。
そろそろ出港の時間が近づいているようですね。
それでは夜にまたお目にかかります。ジオルド殿下、アラン殿下、失礼いたします。
The moment they leave, the smile drops from my face, causing Alec to fidget next to me.
何か気になることでもあったか？
いえ、今のところは特に。
今のところは？
アランも知らないわけではないでしょう。海を越えてなお、クイードの最小の話は聞こえてきていますから。
ああ、そうだったな。
Alan nods as if he remembers and sends a meaningful look to the door that Premier Norden closed. set Norden the premier of the Kingdom of Quid, a nation of invitations. He became the premier at an unprecedented young age. He is ambitious, intelligent, and is said to be ruthless in the hunt for profit. There is no shortage of dubious rumors enshrouding him. The sheer number tells me not to brush them aside as merely jealousy.
クイード前国王が逝去してから現国王と宰相の間では政治的な対立が何年も続いているという話も聞いていますし、それなりに注意は必要だと思っていますよ。
まあ否定はしない。うまい話には裏があるもんだ。
Supposedly, his efforts with Marquis Werder were meant to strengthen the bonds of our nations, but is much too suspicious. When the same offer was made 3 years ago, King Stuart, my father, refused it. I find it perfectly normal to be suspicious of a nation that has always been distant from us suddenly suggesting a new enterprise.
それでもライルベルダーが手掛ける事業としてならめったなことにはならないとは思いますが。
Marquis Werder is highly regarded in the kingdom and is among the most trusted subjects of the king. He has garnered attention in recent years for his excellent foresight. I remember him a congenial man from when we last spoke.
だからノーディン宰相も諦めきれずにベルダー公爵へ造船事業の話を持っていったのだろう。
He must have assumed that Marquis Werder would be enticed by quiz technology, as he is known to have an eye for the avant-garde. And as he must have planned, Premier Norden received financial aid from and magic technology assistance from Marquis Werder.
そしてベルダー公爵からこのクイードとの造船計画の話がソルシエ王宮に奏上されたと。
Though the Sorcerer Palace had rejected the plans once before, the circumstances were different if it was a Marquis's business. As a project of the Marquis, there would be no risk to the national treasury while still providing a chance at foreign technology. And if it attracted foreign visitors, that too could benefit Sorcier. There was no reason to refuse, assuming that it would remain firmly a business of the Marquis. The vinculum was approved. And today is the maiden voyage.
1週間もカタリナに会えないだなんて退屈ですね。
Oh, this is before he knows she's on board, I think. I inadvertently let my words slip and Alan smiles brightly.
まあ1週間なんてすぐだろう。
そうですね。さっさと終わらせて早くカタリナに会いたいところだね。
My fiancée Catarina Clays, although I have never truly been interested in other people, she is a shining exception. I still remember when we first met at 8 years of age.
こんなかすり傷気になさらないでください。だいたい額の傷なんて前髪でパパッと隠せるので何の問題もございませんわ。
After scarring her face, Catarina's nonchalance was entirely unbefitting a duke's daughter, and that was only the beginning. She was utterly unrestrained, climbing trees and throwing toy snakes, yet her magnetic smile never failed to pull me to her.
とはいえ、僕の行為には全く気づいてもらえていない。
He spent so many times in the last playthrough worrying that if he doesn't do anything, someone's going to steal her away. And now she gets to be stolen away like 5 times. She does not see my love for her, believing our engagement to be a breakwater to stave off other advances. Believing there was plenty of time, I took it slow, remaining by her side ever since we were 8 years old.
結局、ライバルを増やしただけだった。
Yep.
なんだ
I turned to see my twin brother looking confused. He is also a rival, another man that has feelings for Catarina. But Alan isn't the only one. Catarina attracts people naturally. Her smile continues to charm many. Catarina's adoptive brother Keith, the Prime Minister's son Nicole, as well as her friends Mary, Sophia, and Maria, Catarina Clays attracts all. And due to their excessive affinities for her, they're all doing everything in their power to interfere with our marriage.
カタリナに王子妃は務まりませんなんていう主張。あれはどう見ても僕に独占されるのが気に入らないだけだ。
If Catarina was self-aware of her role as my fiancé, I wouldn't mind as much, but my dear fiancé is lacking in that capacity. That is why I'm always steadfast in my watch.
ま、今回唯一良かったことといえば、カタリナを除くその全員がビンクルム号の披露会にいるというところか。
No one will be able to get the best of me. It's a shame Catarina isn't here, but this is a silver lining. The rival before me has only recently become aware of his feelings for her. He's been oblivious to them the whole time.
そんな時期にカタリナと会えば何が起きるかわからない。
Alan's obliviousness was in large due to part of his fiancée, Lady Mary, who spared no effort in that out of her own love for Catarina. Alan was an unfortunate fool who didn't even realize his greatest rival was his own fiancée. Alan looks at me curiously, but I simply shake my head with a smile.
いえ、何でもありませんよ。
うん、そうか。じゃあ、俺は自分の部屋に戻る。
Alan looks a bit stupefied, but just as he's about to leave, there's a knock on the door.
もう、お兄様は本当に律儀すぎです。
The knock on the door is from Sophia. Hi, Sophia Ascart. Am angry with my brother Nicole. We saw Lady Catarina board the vinculum, yet we still have not gone to greet her.
ソフィア。
Brother turns and tries to quell my anger. However, I have no intention of backing down.
お兄様、私が昨日カタリナ様とご挨拶した時、ビンクルム号のお披露目会に参加するとは言っていませんでしたわ。きっと急にここに来ることになったはずです。おそらくどなたもまだカタリナ様がここにいることを知りませんわ。
Now's your chance. Go get her.
ですから今が距離を縮めるチャンスです。
That's funny. Brother has long held feelings for my beloved childhood friend Catarina Clays. If Brother and Lady Catarina were to marry, then Lady Catarina and I would become sister-in-laws. We could always be together. Lady Catarina freed me from my loneliness. I want to be with her always. It's my hopes that Brother will successfully woo her. I must have Brother steal Lady Catarina away.
ソフィア、いつも言っているだろ。カタリナはジオルドの婚約者だ。
Yeah, he's the one who respects his friend's fiance's boundary and his friend's feelings.
それが何だって言うんですの？お兄様は先に卒業してしまったんですから、少しぐらい抜け駆けしても構わないと思いますわ。
Giorgio, Keith, Alan, and Mary all have long-standing relationships with the Asgard siblings, but as our childhood friends. But amongst everyone, only Brother is a year apart. His graduation this year has created a widening gap between him and his rivals. Fortunately, Lady Catarina doesn't seem to realize that the other rivals have been attempting to approach her.
私たちはもう1年一緒に過ごせますけれど、お兄様はこれからカタリナ様とお会いできる時間がますます減るんですから。
だが、今ジオルドたちに挨拶をしに行くところだっただろ。父の名代で来ているんだ。まずはするべきことが先だ。
それはそうかもしれませんけれど。
Ever the responsible one.
お兄様ったら本当に真面目なんだから。
I do respect him for that, but he can be so stubborn about keeping his public and private lives separate. Well, that's a good thing.
きっとお兄様のことだから、ジオルド様に会ったらカタリナ様がいたとお話しされるはず。それでは意味がなくなってしまうのに。お兄様は もっとずるくなっていいと思いますわ。
I puff my cheeks and mumble, but his only response is his usual stiff smile. In the end, there is no forestalling to be had, as the royal guard appears to request our presence before Prince Giordo.
お兄様は本当にそんな性格なんですから。
I'll try to handle the meeting deftly before brother mentions her to the prince. Knowing Prince Giordo, he will most likely notice something from brother's countenance alone. I sigh to myself. From his point of view now.
カタリナがこの船にいるのか。
While we request a royal guard to relay a meeting request to Giordo, I barely contain my shock at Sophia's words. Catarina Clays. She is the fiancée of my childhood friend Giordo and the one whom I have fallen in love with. She was the first person outside my direct family who understood my feelings.
ご両親はあんなに素敵で、妹さんはあんなに可愛くて、ニコル様は本当に幸せ者ですわね。
She so clearly understood the feelings I longed to express. I hated how people assumed I was suffering because of my sister, telling me that I was in a fortunate situation. I completely gave up on the others ever understanding how blessed I felt to have such a wonderful sister, but then she appeared. That's why I've fallen for her. I have no intention of stealing away my childhood friend's fiancé. See, he's so polite in his feelings.
だから俺はこの思いを悟られるわけにはいかない。ソフィアの言うような抜け駆けなどしない。
At least he's aware of it. I'm really looking forward to his right now. All I want is to be near her so I can watch over her. But there is no way I can hide my elation after hearing that she is on this ship.
Ah. ニコルとソフィアだったか。
これは。
Jiro and Alan are shocked into silence by my unconcealed smile as I entered the room. Let's see if you read this.
それではキース様、カタリナ様。
Okay.
私どもは荷物を運び込んでおきますので。
Yep, so we've already read this, and this is when they all appear to greet her for the first time.
それではキース。
Alright, so for Keith, it's let's go fishing.
一緒に釣りをしましょうね、キース。
釣りって何を釣り上げるつもりなの？
もちろん狙うは海でしか釣れなさそうな大きい魚よ。あ、イカもいいわね。
その手の釣りをするなら多分専用の漁船が必要だと思うけど。
釣りといえば子供の頃よくやったわね、キース。覚えてる？
Fishing first.
釣りか。
As I watch Sister prepare to do some fishing on the deck of the vinculum, I think back to a time when we were children, when I was still new to the Clays family. When I was still scared to leave my room, my sister always took me out to see new places. She showed me the estate, its gardens, her farm. Even now, I remember how free I felt walking through the garden hand in hand with her on a sunny day without criticism.
それで釣りが得意だって誇らしげに言う姉さんに驚いたんだっけ？
She even promised to teach me one day when I told her I never fished before. Oh, how bewildered I was. Even someone as sheltered as I knew that fishing was far from a common hobby for a noble woman. But at first I thought she was simply joking to make me laugh, as I was still new to the Clays family. But truly I was naive. Several days later, I would realize that sister was completely serious.
キース、今日は釣りに行くわよ。
On that early morning, sister came bursting through my door and marched into my bedroom. At that time, I was still curled up in bed, fast asleep, and before I could even react to her sudden entrance, Sister ripped the sheets away and tore open the curtains.
今日はいい天気ね。絶好の釣り日和だわ。
Confused, I turned to see what Sister was looking at with no idea why she was there. Her gaze was on the window, and just as she had said, the sky was beautiful.
というか、今釣りって言った？
I was still so shocked by Sister's sudden entry, I did not even ask. I just sat in bed, stunned, as the maids who usually care for us hurried into the room and chucked Sister into the hall. Then they quickly dressed me for the day. After my sudden awakening, we ate an early breakfast, and then Sister took me out to the garden.
まだ少し眠たいな。
As I rubbed my drowsy eyes, we walked to the stream that ran through the garden hand in hand under the clear sky.
約束通り、今日は釣りの仕方を教えるから、しっかり聞いてね。
Sister was always cheery, and that day she looked even more radiant, perhaps from the weather. It made me happy too. The warmth of her hand helped me to relax, and I began to think it truly might be a wonderful day. I soon realized just how wrong I was.
はい、これがキースの分よ。僕の分。
Sister handed me a small box. I opened it, unaware of what was inside. I am well aware of how pathetic it was, but I screamed and accidentally dropped the box the moment I saw what was inside.
え？キース、どうしたの？
Sister hurried to me, who was frozen in shock, and held my hand anxiously.
もしかして噛まれたとか？いや、そういうわけじゃないんだけど、姉さんこそ何なのこれは。
Inside the box Sister handed to me, there was a mass of strange, thin, string-like creatures wiggling about.
何って、ミミズだけど。ミミズ。
I have heard of them before, but since I rarely ever played outside, it was my first time seeing them with my own eyes. Or more precisely, it was my first time to ever seeing creatures stuffed into a box. The book I read said that worms were bugs that lived in dirt, so why were they stuffed in this little box? Still confused, I turned to Sister. Her shoulders drooped apologetically.
ごめんなさい、キース。まさか虫がダメだなんて思わなくて、びっくりさせちゃったわね。
Looking at the downhearted way Sister picked up the box, I realized she had no ill intentions when handing it to me.
虫がダメというか、普通は誰でもこんなに大量に詰まっているのを突然見せられたら驚くと思うけれど。
Then again, Sister didn't seem to think so. Perhaps her adoptive brother needed to warn her not to do it to anybody else. As I watched her, Sister pulled one of the worms from the box with a sigh.
生き餌が一番魚の食いつきがいいから初心者にはいいかと思ったんだけど、虫が苦手じゃこれ使えないわよね。生き餌。
That was how I discovered what the box of worms was for. Sister intended to use them as bait.
そう言って渡してくれたらよかったのに。
If she had, I would not have dropped it, and I certainly would not have screamed. But as Sister thought I was averse to worms, she seemed to have given up on live bait. Instead, she handed me a wooden something.
じゃあ今日はこのルアーを使いましょう。ルアー？
Wondering what it was, I asked Sister to clarify.
姉さん、これは？ルアーっていうのはね、魚を釣るための疑似餌よ。餌がないと魚は釣れないもの。ちなみにこれは私が作ったルアーよ。ほら見て、魚の形にしてみたんだけど、この辺の魚の鱗とかよくできてるでしょ。そうだね。これ 魚の形だったんだ。
Given its unique shape, I figured it was a creature I had not seen before. To my surprise, it was a fish.
ルアーを一度使ってみたくて作ってみたんだけど、ナイフで削るのが大変だったのよね。でもルアーで釣るのって難しいらしいし、今日は私が使おうと思っていたんだけど、生き餌が苦手ならキースにあげるわ。
Sister handed me the supposed fish lure with a smile.
ありがとう、姉さん。
Receiving the lure, I took a closer look at it. Truly, there was nothing remotely fish-like about it.
これで魚が釣れるのかな。さて、じゃんじゃん釣るわよ。キースもわからないことがあったらいつでも聞いてね。
Sister began to fish using the worms. I tried my best to copy her actions with the handmade lure. But as I thought, the fish didn't seem to acknowledge the strangely shaped lure, so...
まあ、予想はできたけれどね。
I ended up not catching a single fish that day.
覚えてるよ。忘れるわけないじゃないか。
よかった。じゃあ絶対にやりましょうね。
そうだね。や、カタリナ。
I think this is where we meet Jordo. We're going to go skip to the next part now.
カタリナ、
Just wanted to see all their handsome
あなたも来てい
faces.
ると聞いて探していたんですよ。
Alright, so... We're going to wave at the shore.
やっほー、皆さん。
Keith grabs my arm as I lean over the railing to wave at the shore.
姉さん、危ないよ。
Keith looks so troubled that I realize I got a bit too carried away. Every time he scolds her, she gives this little sad face.
ごめんごめん。つい気持ちが高揚しちゃって。それよりキースはちゃんと見えてる？
僕なら平気だから。姉さんは自分のことだけ心配していて。そこに足をかけてたら危ないから。
I had placed my foot on the bottom railing of the deck and Keith noticed. He pulls me down. He always treats me like such a child. I'm the older sister, yet to command none of the respect.
ほら、それより姉さん、セレモニーを見てごらんよ。
I look at the shore like Keith suggests and I see a wonderful ceremony orchestrated with magic. Perhaps to show the people of Quit Our Magic Sorcier Magic users are giving a rare performance. I think this is okay, it was skippable. So we're gonna go to the next one.
うわ
Which is gonna be at the pool. First, we're going to play with the water gun.
まずはこれね。
I pick something up. I pick something up the moment I see it, but it causes Keith to make a troubled expression.
姉さん、それ何？
He doesn't know what a water gun is.
何って水鉄砲じゃないの？
The shape is different, but there is a trigger and a place to put water. It looks like those bamboo water guns that my brother plays with in my past life.
危ないものじゃない？
平気よ。こうやって使えば。
I turn around and shoot the water gun at Keith to show him, but...
え？
The jet of water is stronger than expected. The direct hit on Keith wets his soft bangs.
姉さん。
ごめんねキース。こんな勢いがあるとは思わなくて。
姉さん、それ僕に渡してくれる？
He's gonna turn it around on you.
はい。
Yes. Feeling awfully guilty, I hand the water gun to Keith. I get the feeling he's gonna get me back. Maybe it'll be 5 times harder, but if it's payback, I have to take it. It's my fault for shooting the water at him. I close my eyes and wait for it. But the water never comes. Aw, this is disappointing. Aw, he's spoiled sport. He's just dumping it out. I cautiously open my eyes and see Key taking apart the water gun to pour out the water inside.
あれ水鉄砲で水をかけるんじゃないの？
僕が姉さんを同じ目に合わせるわけがないだろ。でもこれは没収。
Confiscating it.
まだ全然遊んでないのに。
みんなにどんな迷惑をかけてしまうかわからないからね。これは姉さんに持たせられない。もし調子に乗って怪我をさせたら困るでしょ。
はーい。
今だって僕だったからいいものの、もし相手がジオルド様だったら。
What about it? He'd probably like it too.
僕はカタリナにならどんな迷惑をかけられても構いませんけどね。償ってもらう楽しみができますし。
Of course he would look forward to making up.
その腹黒さがキースとの差だな。
あまりカタリナを困らせすぎないように。
The little chibi Nicole looks so cute.
ね、もちろん分かっていますよ。
本当に分かっているのか？
Alright, next one. It's a choice that we don't normally get. Let's see if we recognize where it's at. Okay, so maybe it's before the party. That's what I'm thinking. Like, she goes to her room and Jordan goes back to his room. So now we're in Alan's point of view. After getting out of the pool, I, Alan Stewart, sit alone in my room thinking back on Catarina's words.
木登りで競い合ったのを思い出す。か。
To be quite honest, the way she whispered to me about those precious days, I felt rather agitated. Catarina Clays, I've only just realized, but I've liked her for so long. I still want to go through everyone's point of views.
アラン様にはアラン様の得意なものがあるでしょうから、向き不向きがあって当たり前ですよ。
That's what she said to me when I was always so irritable from being compared to my twin brother. When I was small, I was called the dregs of my twin brother Giordo. No matter what we did, Giordo would accomplish it masterfully without so much as breaking a sweat. Even though we are twins, there was a yawning chasm of difference between us. The servants used to gossip, saying that Giordo must have taken all the good traits while we were in the womb. While I became more self-conscious around Giordo, he didn't show any interest in me. That's what I believed anyway. But after meeting Catarina, I realized that I had been making assumptions and was able to regain my own sense of self. We've been close since childhood, but it wasn't until an accident in our first year at the academy that I realized my feelings.
まさかそんな時に1週間も船の上で一緒に過ごすことになるとはな。
Although our childhood friends are also still here, I'm still feeling restless. She always leaves herself so unguarded. I think back to Catarina in her swimsuit and place a hand on my forehead with a sigh. The other ladies looked embarrassed, but Catarina showed none of it. She doesn't distinguish between girl friends and guy friends. It's made me turn red so many times. He's thinking back to her in a swimsuit. Remembering any more will only make it worse. I shake my head to make myself get up. But memories of Catarina smiling and laughing at the pool flash through my thoughts, making me dizzy with love sickness once more. Aww, he's lovesick. That's kind of cute. Okay, now we're in Catarina's room, which we've seen. So we're gonna go to, I always hit the wrong button, we're gonna go here. Now we're going to cover it up, which only appears once you've done your first playthrough, it says.
うわー、すごい雷の音でしたね。
Actually, I remember reading this in the first one, so I'm not sure.
え、雷？
いやー、嵐が近づいているんですかね。
Skippable? That's not skippable.
その前に腹ごしらえをしておかないと。
Okay, guess we haven't read it. I'm pretty sure I have, though. Unfortunately, my stomach growls again, ruining my attempts to play it off. I don't think I can play dumb any longer. I look up at him and see his shoulders shaking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read this, but don't let me skip it. Sorry, it wasn't really thunder. It was just my stomach. But as I panicked on what to say, he looks at me with a smile.
お腹が空いているの？あいにくこういうものしか持ち合わせがないんだけど、もしよかったら。
He produces something from his pocket. Now it's skippable. Okay. So we're gonna get to the next one, which is after the memory lesson. Unless, okay. So it was, I think it's right before the ball. Oh, yeah. So Bile like was Jorda's. We're gonna go eat.
さて、料理を食べに行くわよ。
I begin to walk, brimming with anticipation, only to be stopped as Keith grabs my hand.
姉さん、ちゃんと言いつけ覚えてるよね。
当然よ。大丈夫。覚えてるから。
じゃあ復唱してくれる？
Keith really is acting more and more like mother every day. He reviewed everything so much at the carriage, but he still isn't satisfied.
走らない。とにかくおしとやかに。大口で料理を食べない。問題を起こさない。
Hey, she remembers this time. I mumble, counting my fingers as we walk to the party hall. So, with all these choices, Jordo has a whole lot less lines. So he's not always saying, as her fiance's duty, it's my duty to be. When we arrive, Keith finally gives me the okay, signaling the end of our review session. Can I skip? Okay. So we're gonna go to the next one. We're gonna skip the first dance lesson because we've already seen it with Jordo. So this is some unread content. The man looks ready to jump out of his skin when I call him. Is my villainous face really that scary? Don't worry, I'm not scary, I say with a smile as I approach the waiter. I'm pretty sure we've seen this too.
飲み物を一ついただきたいのですが。
お飲み物はアルコールでよろしかったですか？
Wait, is that Silva? I think that's Silva, so I haven't seen this.
あ、お酒じゃないものがいいです。
Despite my obviously mature appearance, I do have a preference for sweet things in life. My mother and Keith don't like it when I drink too many sweets. My mother and Keith don't like it when I drink too many sweet things though, so I make sure I don't do it too often.
ではこちらをどうぞ。クイード産のパイナップルを使ったジュースでございます。
Wow, that looks delicious. I gulp it down faster than it's handed to me. I live again! It's sweet and refreshing, it goes down so smoothly. I had been preoccupied with the drink, but now I notice the waiter staring. Oh, maybe I was a little too eager there. But it was so delicious that I couldn't help myself. Keith would be furious if he saw me. No, he's Silva, that's why he's staring at you. Salvaging the scraps of my dignity, I wipe my mouth with the handkerchief and place the glass back upon the tray as elegantly as I can.
どうかしまして？
いえ、失礼いたしました。
He bows and leaves. Feeling relieved, I head back to the food table.
カタリナ、
ニコル様。
I turn and hear Nicole's voice, and I notice him carrying a plate filled with food and desserts.
楽しみにしていた料理にまだ手をつけられていないように見えた。よければ。
He's going to offer her a bunch of food, and she's going to pick for the fish. I hesitate for a moment, but I decide to start with the seafood after all. As I munch, my eyes open wide at the explosive taste. What is this flavor? It's so delicious, and this sauce. This must be the flavor of quid. There's a sweetness and sourness that complement each other that I have not tasted in Sorcier. I have to get everyone to try this too. Actually, I wonder if they're already eating. I look around the party hall to see Keith and Giorgio caught up in some noblewoman. This is all skippable, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip until... Okay, it's not a new one. Keith's romance. She thought that he found someone of romantic interest at the party, but he was just seasick, so Keith's romance. Has to be Keith. Keith was acting awfully strange when we saw him near the end of the party. It seemed like he was daydreaming, but looking back, he might have felt sick. Yes, he was definitely sick. He looked a bit pale and he didn't have an appetite. Maybe Keith was feeling exhausted after dealing with so many Quiddian ladies. Either way, I want to eat my fill of that feast tomorrow. I didn't get to eat until I was satisfied today. And that's going to be the end of chapter 1. We're going to go ahead and play through chapter 2 as well, because I don't think it's going to be very long. And if it does, it's fine. It's whatever. Function currently not available. Okay. In my dream, I'm 8 years old again. I am in my younger self with a scar on my forehead, but I am not at home. Where am I? It seems unfamiliar, but...
もしかしてお腹が空いているの?
Who is that? I hear a nostalgic voice. It seems too cheerful to be Keith. Someone gave me sweets, but who is it? I should know them well, but I just can't recall. My vision is blurry. I can't make out their face. What kinds of sweets were they? Where did I get them? My past life? No, that's not it. It just isn't that far into my past. It is something more recent, in another place far from here. It's gotta be Rosie, right? Wake to the sound of my growling stomach. I want to do something about this awkwardness, so I blurt out something. I say I'm hungry.
いやー、それにしてもお腹減ったわね。
え?
Yep, Rosie gave you some food. Still not available, okay. Which I think this is new, I guess, but I'm pretty sure I've already read it. When I see that, I remember he just gave me food a little while ago. Oh shoot, that makes it sound like what he gave me didn't help at all. And certainly it makes it sound like I am a total glutton. I began to wave my hands in a panic.
いや、もちろんロジーが作ってくれたものもすごく美味しかったんだけど、実は私、昨べあまりご飯食べてなくって。
え、そうなの? 大丈夫?
だから実は今朝はすごくお腹が空いていて、よかったらロジーも一緒にご飯食べに行かない?
Okay, skip you. No, okay.
ということで、この船で友達になったロジーよ。
As he walks away, Jordan eyes him suspiciously. So he's suspicious of Rosie. Don't ask. Meet. Is it that unusual to meet someone from Quid? Jordan is a prince, so maybe he's interested in the technology. In any case, it's finally time for my long-awaited breakfast. I sit down at a table with everyone. Okay, now she's talking about when she stole the line from Alan that she told Mary that she had to greet them. Because I stole that line, Alan couldn't say it to her. It's a nice memory now, but he had challenged me to a contest for seducing her. and I feel bad. Yeah, I feel guilty about that. Unlike in the game, Mary doesn't seem to be in love with Alan. If it was because of that, I am seriously sorry.
まあ、クイードにはこんな植物があるんですのね。
I should be able to skip to the next one now. Her favorite type of man is what they're asking her is the playboy types, thinking back to her Toby game life.
チャラ男とか？チャラ？
I think about the game version of Keith and I quickly reconsider. That version of Keith was good looking, but as his adopted sister, I like him more the way he is now. I am proud of him.
チャラ男って何でしょう？わかりませんけれど、カタリナ様も首をひねってますし、好みのタイプではなさそうですわ。そうね。ちょっと間違えたみたい。それでは、本当はどんな方がタイプなんですか？今はよくわからないから考えておくわ。それより次に行きましょう。
And then we're gonna jump to the next one. Okay. Now we're talking about the demon of the fog. Still, Violet, how that sounds familiar because she saw it in the kitchen. And we're going to say we imagined it. Well, I must have imagined it. I tried to rack my brain, but nothing really comes to mind. I'm convinced I imagined it.
クイード海軍は取り締まろうとしているが、海賊たちの方が一枚上手らしくてな。一向に捕まらないらしい。
なるほど。海軍所属であるフレデリック様にとっては鬱陶しい存在だというわけですわね。
So that's it. That's why he was so aggressive. I'm pretty sure we read all this now. Okay. There's more unread content, looks like from Keith's point of view. His sister out of sight, I let out a sigh.
情けないな。姉さんに心配かけちゃうなんて。
I always want to be at her side to protect her. I never thought I'd end up in such a sorry state.
姉さんを一人にしておくと心配だよ。いつの間にかロジーなんていう技術師とも仲良くなっているし。
I know how she is. We've been together since we were young. Her personality is magnetic. I've observed it time and time again.
姉さん。
It was just the same way for me. She saved me from the darkness. Her smile at my side brightens my day. I exist to protect her. I have to keep myself together at all times.
まあ、みんながいるなら変なことにはならないと思うけど。
That's cute. He says, I exist to protect her. But knowing how unpredictable she is, who else will she unexpectedly charm? You never think her unnoble with how open she is. I can't help but worry some malicious trickster will prey upon her in my absence. I'm sure that Prince Giordo is keeping watch for that, but leaving her to him is a danger all in itself. Prince Giordo is head over heels for sister. Who knows what might happen if they find themselves alone together? I'm terrified. Yeah, I don't have to worry about that. He's trying to seduce her in his endings and it didn't work very well. I rise to my feet in a rush, but the sudden vertigo knocks me right back down. My vision shakes violently as I lay back.
かっこ悪いな。
I sigh to myself, staring at the ceiling. At her side will be Lady Mary, a formidable rival, but a trustworthy guardian. Miss Campbell will be there as well, but...
頼むから、これ以上ライバルを増やさないでよ。姉さん。
I pray in my heart and close my eyes. This should be skippable. Looks like her mission is to burn through the food. Oh, this looks good. It's great. Because there's so few people, most of the food is untouched. I go from one end to the other, eating and eating. This is where in Jorda's route the pirates attacked. They've attacked during this party here. The feeling of fullness hits me like a truck, a piece of pie still in my mouth. And Keith's not there to tell you to stop overeating. This is rough. I overate. My stomach feels tight to the point that I feel sick.
Catarina-sama, どうされました？気持ち悪い。
お前はまた。
カタリナ様、大丈夫ですか？医務室へ行きましょう。
Yep, just go plop her right on Keith's bed. Mary, Maria, and Sophia look worried as they accompany me. He needs some company anyway. And so the second day concludes with me taking an early respite. And now we're on Keith's route. Oh, I didn't get to see him. I didn't get to see her plop on the bed and have him scold her for overeating.
近寄るな、愛人の子が。
So we're gonna go ahead and do some of Keith's route, but probably stop in the middle and make it a two-part episode, just so this first episode is not like a boring recap. Want to get into some new stuff in this one.
化け物、お前なんか出ていけ。目障りなんだよ、とっとと失せろ。
Oh, they're so mean to him. I withdrew because of those abusive words. No one needed me, no one wanted me. I felt so lonely then, but things have changed. After meeting my beloved Catarina Clays. Oh, she's back in the... Okay, so they did take her. That's funny. I began to feel sick after eating too much. Now I'm laying down in the infirmary.
カタリナ様、お加減はいかがですか？今、お医者様が薬を持ってきてくださいますから、もう少しの辛抱ですわ。
まったくお前はどうしていつもそうなんだ。
カタリナ、背中をさすりましょう。
That was really random. Why would you give her a back massage?
いいえ、ジオルド様。それは私にお任せください。
My dear friends tend to me while I groan in bed. Then I notice someone watching from the bed beside me.
何やってるの姉さん。
いやー、食べ過ぎちゃって。
I feel sick from eating too much, combined with the constant rocking of the ship. It makes me feel nauseous. Oh my gosh. I feel like nauseous just imagining that. Keith sighs as I fight my nausea. I still get a little bit nauseous every once in a while from being sick for 4 days. I totally get the whole rocking bit. Oh my goodness. My voice is almost 100% back though, which I think is causing me to read too fast, so I'm trying to slow down and read it and pronounce my words better.
僕、食べ過ぎないようにって言ったよね。姉さんは公爵家の令嬢なんだから、変な噂にならないように気をつけてよ。
わかってるわ。明日からは気をつけるから。それよりキースの具合はどう？
うん、夕方よりも元気になったよ。医務室で休んだし、薬を飲んだからね。初めて飲んだけど、クイードの薬はよく効くみたいだよ。少し飲みにくかったけれど。
飲みにくい？どんな薬だったの？
It's probably Pepto-Bismol.
なに、普通の薬ですよ。少々苦いかもしれませんがな。
I had to drink some Pepto-Bismol while I was sick. I almost choked on it. It's so thick. The doctor turns to hand me the bitter-looking medicine. It reminds me of a kale smoothie that I had in my past. Ugh. That's so gross. Why is it green?
これ飲むの？
I know. I wouldn't want to drink it either.
飲まないと良くならないよ。確かに苦かったけれど、おかげでよく聞いたから。良薬口に逃がしって言うし、姉さんも我慢してちゃんと飲んでね。
カタリナ様、頑張ってください。カタリナ様、応援していますわ。
My friends cheer for me as I struggle to get the medicine into my mouth. All right, let's do this. I make up my mind and swallow the medicine without a thought, and I freeze. It's the most bitter thing I've had in my life. How bitter is this?
カタリナ様。
My friends gather around me to see if I'm okay, but the truth is I'm not. The taste is so bad that I break into a cold sweat. Oh, that's pretty bad. However, I can't just spit it out in front of them, so I desperately try to get the medicine down with tears in my eyes.
カタリナ様、偉いですわ。大丈夫ですか、カタリナ様。
ちゃんと飲めましたね、カタリナ。
Oh boy, that was so bitter. While I'm glad to receive praise from everyone, the bitter aftertaste lingering in my mouth is agonizing. I guess I'm going to have to use my ace in the hole. I'll just eat that thing in my pocket. I'm lucky I nabbed this during the party. I reach my hand into my pocket and pull out a neatly wrapped cookie. The contrasting soft yet crumbly texture of the cookie melts a sweet aroma into my mouth. The bitter taste isn't completely gone yet, so I reach into my pockets to pull out more sweets. Sugar cookies, the sweet bonbons, the chocolate-covered almonds, all neatly wrapped up. I pocketed the ones that were easy to carry around. You just went to the infirmary for a stomach ache and you're eating more. What's next? I just ate a cookie, so...
お前まだ食べるのか。
I know, right?
姉さん、食べ過ぎて気持ち悪くなったんでしょ？
いや、これはキースにお土産と思って。
Uh-huh, sure.
だからってこの量は絶対姉さん自身の分も入ってるよね。
そんなことはあるけど。
There's really no excuse for the huge pile of snacks in my lap. It seems I got carried away and brought too many.
だってすごく美味しかったし、キースと一緒に食べたかったんだもの。
I really did think about bringing in some for Keith when I saw the snacks all neatly wrapped.
船の料理はどれも美味しかったし、この焼き菓子なら日持ちするでしょ。これならキースの食欲が戻ったら一緒に食べられそうだと思って。だからキース、一緒に食べない？
So we're gonna... Oh, it disappeared. So we're gonna read the memory scenario tea time, but I gotta get it back now.
だって船の料理はこれなら。
When we were young, sister would always try to make me eat lots of snacks.
はい、これはキースの分よ。遠慮しないで食べてね。
Sister attempted to dump a pile of snacks onto my plate during our tea time. I was grateful for her kindness, but since it was more than I could eat, I shook my head in refusal.
さすがにこれは多すぎるよ。僕はこれで十分だから。
I took just a few snacks onto my plate with a forced smile, but sister looked scandalized.
それだけで足りるの？うん、本当に大丈夫だから。
I guess she didn't say it. Can I go up? No. Sister started to stare into my eyes long and hard as if trying to inform me of her suspicions. It seemed she thought I was being modest. In honesty, I had already taken more than I wanted, but when I tried to say as much, Sister only drew closer, Madeline in hand. She still had yet to give up.
いやでもあとこれくらい。本当に大丈夫だから。むしろ僕にはこれでも多いくらいだし。そうなの？うん。でも姉さんの気遣いは嬉しいよ。ありがとう。
I smiled at her, trying to show her that I was satisfied, but she only nodded sadly.
わかったわ。でも食べてみて足りなかったら遠慮なく言うのよ。たくさんあるから。
It appeared my considerate sister was determined to see me eat my fill of snacks.
そういえば姉さんはいつもこんな感じだな。
She'd ask if I had enough during breakfast, or ask if I wanted snacks while studying. Mother would drag her out and scold her.
考えてみれば姉さんはいつも僕と一緒にいようとしてくれている気がする。
It was not only mealtimes, but also when we were training in magic or when we would study math and language. This was unfamiliar to me. In my birth family, I would never have been allowed to interact with others this way. It was a little awkward, but it was also comfortable. It was so new to me that I never found it annoying. In fact, I was very happy.
でもどうして姉さんはいつもそばにいてくれるんだろう。
Had I seemed that unreliable, finally curiosity got the better of me and I asked. Sister looked at me and smiled.
だって弟ができて嬉しいのよ。私前世から弟か妹が欲しいってずっと思っていたんだもの。前世？
I had no idea what she meant by that, but I understood that she was doing it because she was happy to have a little brother.
そっか、そうだったんだ。弟ができて嬉しいんだ。
I could tell those were her earnest feelings from the look on her face. My heart grew warm and my cheeks got hot. I was so happy.
ここにいていいんだ。
Once more, I recognized that fact, but as I relished that happiness, Sister peered into my eyes worriedly.
キス、食べてないみたいだけど、どうしたの？ちょっと考え事してて。考え事？
Sister paused as she mumbled, then she put the Madeline on my plate again.
なら、やっぱり甘いものを食べなきゃ。頭を使って疲れたでしょ？
After using your brain.
いや。
I tried to explain that I was just happy about what she had said, but the look of shock suddenly crossed Sister's face.
あ、それとも、もしかしてダイエットをしてるとか？ダメよ、キース。あなたは育ち盛りなんだから。
Stop it right now.
それは違うけれど。じゃあこのお菓子、あんまり好きじゃなかった？あ、それとも実は甘いものが苦手だったとか？
Sister's imagination starts to run wild, all in response to my refusing snacks. She was always like this, overthinking things and surprising me by jumping to conclusions. I could never guess what she was thinking, but I didn't want her to misunderstand my happiness, so I shook my head.
甘いものは好きだよ。姉さんとこうしてお茶をするのも大好きだし。本当？もちろんだよ。
And I nodded and smiled. Sister leaned toward me, eyes sparkling. I could feel my cheeks getting hot from her expressive happiness. That was just how things were around her. She would teach me new feelings just by looking me in the eyes. Back with my birth family, I had no doubt I would never have learned these emotions: happiness, comfort, and love. I got to experience so many things, and it was all thanks to her. If not for my sister barging her way into my life, I would still be locked away in my room. I would never have found that the time I spent with someone could be this precious.
じゃあせっかくならもっと食べて。キース、疲れた顔して見えるし、疲れている時は甘いものよ。
Sister was already piling the previously declined snacks onto my plate as she spoke.
食べられるかな。
More than strength, I hope you have the stomach for it. I was worried I would be too full for dinner, but I appreciated her concern, so I accepted.
心配させてしまったから、これは仕方がないしね。
And I took a bite of one of the snacks on my plate. Sister's eyes shined with her smile.
どう？美味しいでしょ。このお菓子、中にクリームが入っているんだけど、こうやって食べると。
Sister happily told me this and that about the treat. She continued on to other things, how the freshly made snacks from the kitchen were the most delicious and the most popular snack sold in town, while she tried to make her own and mortified the cooks.
お菓子か。
I couldn't help but smile looking at sisters talk so much about a single sweet snack. I was convinced that she would never fail to widen my world. If I could stay by her side like this, even I could eventually become a snack master. Maybe I will one day. I eagerly await it. But though I was excited for my widening future, I could not help but wish that the peaceful tea time might last forever. A snack master. Oh, you get embarrassed for that just because she wants to eat together with you?
もうそう言われたら怒れないじゃないか。ありがとう。姉さんの気持ちは嬉しいよ。
I'm relieved to see Keith smile.
じゃあキース、どれから食べる？全部でもいいわよ。キースに持ってきたんだもの。
いや、僕は。
Want a cookie?
クッキーにする？このクッキー、なかなか上品な味で美味しくて。はい、キース、どうぞ。
Is she going to hand feed it? As I hold the cookie out to Keith's mouth, his eyes suddenly become all shifty. Maybe it's all in my head, but he seems to be avoiding eye contact with Mary and Giordo.
いや、それはさすがにいいよ。それにまだ食欲はないから。
ああ、そうよね。じゃあお腹が減ったら言ってね。
Since Keith doesn't want it, I have no choice but to eat it myself. This is really good. Oh my gosh, she just like ate it. This is mine now. As I smile to myself, Mary leans in toward me.
カタリナ様、私もお菓子を用意してきますわ。ですから一緒に食べてくださいね。
僕もまた珍しいお菓子をカタリナのために用意しましょう。
私もまたお菓子を作ってきますね。では私はとびきり美味しいお茶をお持ちいたしますわ。ありがとうみんな、嬉しいわ。いろいろ持ち寄ってお茶会をするのも楽しそう。きっと一緒に食べましょうね。カタリナ様。
As Mary brushes over to hug me, the door opens and Route enters the infirmary. Oh my.
おや、皆様こんなところにいたのですね。
これはベルダー様も体調を崩されたのですか？
ええ、やはり船は慣れませんね。酔い止めでもないかと来たのですが、こんなところで皆様とお会いできるとは。パーティー会場にいらっしゃらないので心配していたんですよ。
The doctor clears his throat and gives us a stern look for being too noisy.
ここは医務室ですからな。元気な方にはご退出をお願いしようと思っていたところです。
Yep, time to leave Keith alone with Catarina.
そうだな。あまり騒いでは周りに迷惑になる。そろそろ会場へ戻ろう。
そうでしたか。 では私がパーティー会場までご案内いたしましょう。
カタリナ様、どうかお体をいたわってくださいね。また後でお見舞いに来ます。
また食べ過ぎるなよ。
カタリナ様、お大事に。
カタリナ、パーティーが終わったら様子を見に来ますからね。
みんなも心配してくれてありがとう。薬も飲んだし、きっと大丈夫や。
さあ皆様参りましょう。
One by one, my 6 friends leave the infirmary after a while. The room is suddenly quiet.
すみません、騒がしくしてしまって。
まあ元気があるのは良いことです。どうにも船の上では体調を崩す人もそれなりにいますから。
Wait, Ryle said he was seasick too. Hold on. Didn't he leave without having any medicine? Is he okay?
キース様もまだ本調子ではないのですから、お二人ともこれを飲んだら無理をせずにお休みください。
I think he just went to like retrieve them. The doctor pours us some herbal tea from the teapot that's sitting on his desk. It looks delicious, but after the medicine I just took, I'm skeptical of its taste. Is this going to be bitter too? I pick up my teacup and hold it to my nose. It smells good. I slowly take a sip of my herbal tea and... it's delicious. It isn't what I expected at all. It's sweet with a refreshing citrus flavor. I decide to drink it all at once.
美味しかった。
姉さん、それはそんな風に一気飲みするような飲み物じゃないんだよ。
いやー、薬みたいに苦かったらどうしようかと思ってたけど、このハーブティー意外と飲みやすいのね。
はは、気に入っていただけたようで何よりです。実は私が趣味と実益を兼ねて栽培とハーブの研究をしていましてな。ここにもああして持ち込んでいるのですよ。
The doctor points to the small greenhouse in the corner of the medical office. There are rows of pots with herbs planted in them.
へえ、船の上でも栽培できるんですね。
できないものも多いですがね。環境の変化に強いものだけを持ってきているんです。ちなみにこちらのハーブティーは私が特別にブレンドして作った特製のものなのですが、浄化作用がありまして気分の悪さを和らげる効果があるのですよ。
本当に研究熱心なんですね。
私などまだまだですよ。今までは自国のクイードのハーブしか知りませんでしたからね。ですがせっかくはるばるソルシエに来る機会ができたので、今はソルシエのハーブも勉強中なんですよ。実は頼み込んでいくつかの株を分けてもらいましてね。
へえ、ソルシエのハーブもですか。
Keith takes interest in the doctor's story and begins discussing it with him. As I listen to their conversation, I hear more and more unfamiliar terminology. I find myself feeling drowsy. I know. I was starting to nod off during all of that too. I was just like, But it is like 11:40 p.m., so it's getting really late. So we're not going to be continuing much further. I'm keeping an eye on the recording time because I know about how much I cut out of each video. So once I hit that, we're stopping. But that's just funny. I was like, eyelids heavy. I no longer feel nauseous from all my eating and I start to doze off.
姉さん、少し眠ったら。
I'm waiting for a CG because I know there's one coming up soon, I think.
そうね。ちょっと 横になろうかしら。
I decide to change into the hospital gown that the doctor gave me in the dressing room and sleep on the bed. As I lie down and try to stifle a yawn, Keith holds my hand.
おやすみ姉さん。
おやすみ、キース。
I don't know why, but another one of my favorite words is oyasumi. My husband didn't believe that it meant good night. I was like, it does. I've read it so many times. While clasping Keith's warm hands, I can sense his tender eyes watching over me. I began to feel my eyelids growing heavy. This is so nostalgic. I remember holding onto Keith's hand like this when I'd go to sleep as a child. Whoa, my controller vibrated. I think I just heard a loud noise, but I guess it makes sense that pirates attack every route because Silva has to be in it. Well, I guess Silva was the waiter, so obviously the pirates are going to attack, but I just hope it doesn't follow the same. We're going to take you to a mansion, you're going to be hostage, and you gotta find a way out. Unable to resist the urge of sleep, I drift into a deep slumber.
キース、少しでいいの。やってみせて。
In my dream, I'm 8 years old. Is that me and Keith? For some reason, my child's self is next to Keith drawing. Keith himself looks troubled. Keith and I are in the Clay's mansion garden. What are we trying to do?
じゃあ、少しだけ。やったー！ありがとう、キース！
Keith makes a doll that is about 4 inches tall out of the garden soil in front of me. He slowly closes his eyes and places his hand on the doll. After a moment, Keith opens his eyes and the small dirt doll begins to toddle.
すごいわ！キース！動いてるわ！人形が動いてる！
Okay, I thought this might have been the time where she accidentally got hurt by one of his dolls and he just like got devastated.
魔力を土の人形に込めると、こうやって僕が考えるように動かせるんだ。
Because he was supposed to be unable to control his powers as a child. Oh, I'm dreaming about the time I had Keith show me his magic for the first time. Even if this is just a dream, seeing it feels nostalgic and heartwarming. Anyway, this is a surprise. He listened to me a lot when we were young. I guess that hasn't changed much. I go to him for help before anyone else, and I rely on him because he always listens. As his sister, I'm so proud to see him grow up to be a kind, brilliant gentleman. At first, I decided to show him affection just to avoid the doom flags, but I've never had a younger brother, so he is precious to me. He's also kind, and we were able to become good friends. I am so happy. I remember fishing and climbing trees together. Wait, won't this dream end up with...
サイズはみんなこのサイズなの？魔力をもっと込めると大きくすることができるけど。
Oh no, this is bad. I already know what's about to happen. I'm begging Keith to show me his magic, and there he is, looking troubled as he stares into my expectant eyes. Keith hesitates, but he eventually puts his hand above the dirt doll. Maybe he couldn't say no to my eagerness. And as he pours his magic into the doll, it grows from 4 inches to about 3 meters tall.
本当にすごいわ！キース、あなたは天才だわ！ねえ、この大きさでも動かせるの？
Oh no, hold on, wait, stop, Catarina Clays. It's all but a dream, so of course I can't stop her, and... That starry-eyed young version of myself runs toward the magically moving dirt doll.
危ない！近づいちゃダメだ！姉さん！
I hear panic in Keith's voice as he shouts at me, and just as I reach out, the dirt doll swings its arm and... Whoa. The infirmary is destroyed. Get the heck out of him. I scream and spring out of bed, and someone else looks back at me in surprise. What? Who's that? I think I know, but hold on, where am I again? I remember eating too much, and oh yeah, I went to the infirmary. That means I'm on the ship, and I look around, tilting my head. There are so many people around me. The doctor and the patients are all sitting, looking frightened, and there are scary looking people wearing strange clothes. I've never seen anyone dressed like that. Are they entertainers for today's party? Anyway, the rooms look so messy now. Was it not clean before I fell asleep? Suddenly I notice broken pots and spilled dirt, and I start to get a bad feeling about what had been going on earlier.
たく、これだけの騒ぎの中でも全然起きる気配がねえからどうしたもんかと思ったが、その様子じゃ大丈夫そうだな。顔色はちょっと白い気もするが、なんだ具合悪いのか。
いえ、大丈夫です。とんだご心配とお手数を。ところでキス、これはどういう状況？
I look over at the bed next to mine and I finally realize that Keith is down on his knees. Oh my. He sounds so bad.
で、キス、大丈夫？どうしたの？
どうしたのって心配してくれるのは嬉しいけれど、マイペースすぎるよ。
Just casually chat with the pirate. Keith looked up at me, his face pale. When I tried jumping out of bed, I felt something cold on my forehead. Cold?
おっと、勝手に動かれちゃ困る。
The barrel of a gun is on her forehead. Suddenly, I'm frozen in place as I feel a cold, hard metal. What's going on? Is this a gun? No, that's impossible.
何？状況説明なんて俺が5秒でしてやる。
In 5 seconds.
この船は俺らバイス海賊団が占拠したんだ。つまり、お前らは俺らの所有物になったってこと。分かったらおとなしくしてな。
I'm not sure if those 5 seconds because I wasn't watching my recording. Pirates. Who would ever expect this ship they're on to be taken over by pirates as they slept? Wait, hold on. Pirates? I remember someone saying that word.
反応が薄いな。まさか寝ぼけてるわけじゃねえよな。
Are you awake? He said baka, but he didn't say the word like dumb in this sentence at all. That's disappointing. The man removes the cold metal pressed against my forehead and looks into my face. He really does have a gun. That fact alone stops me from recalling what I was just thinking about. Oh, I was just about to remember something super important too. The thought is just at the edge of my memory. I try my best to recall it, but just as I'm about to get it back, Keith stands before me. He stands there as if protecting me from the pirate, but he looks extremely pale.
Keith, 大丈夫なの？
それは僕の方のセリフだよ。慣れ慣れしく近寄らないでください。
へえ、美しき兄弟愛ってやつか。
どう取ってもらっても結構です。あなたにわざわざ説明する義理はどこにもない。
なるほどな。だが残念だがそいつは俺らの戦利品だ。所有物をどう扱おうが俺らの勝手だし、文句を言われる筋合いはねえ。それにこの状況でお前が俺にかなわないことはさっきやり合って十分分かっただろ
Demonstrated it. Wait, is that why this office is a mess right now? Did I really sleep through a huge brawl? I really have to question myself on that one.
分かったらここでおとなしくしてな。反抗しなきゃ悪いようにはしね
Oh, he's got purple eyes now. The pirate smirks, a glint in his eye, and points his gun at us. His eyes flash purple, and it makes me remember what was happening earlier today. The waste pirates.
白暗の悪魔。
え。よく知ってるの。まさしく俺が白暗の悪魔。バイス海賊団の首領、シルバだ。分かったら戦利品はおとなしく
できるわけないだろう。
With a grim look on his face, Keith holds his hand out, and the dirt pile spilled all over the floor takes the form of a small rope. That's Keith's earth magic. The dirt rope wraps itself around Silva's body to tie him up, however.
こんなもんで俺は捕まえられねえよ。
I know, it's just a rope. Silva easily rips the dirt rope off.
そんなもんかソルシエの貴族さんよ。
うるさい。
He's mad. Keith used his magic a few more times, but Silva avoided everything. Keith's magic skills are very strong. If there were enough dirt here, we could have driven away the pirates with a big dirt golem. However, we're currently on a ship, and the only dirt available is the dirt in the doctor's flower pots.
ダメか。
Oh, he's so weak. Keith staggers, his face is pale, he's breathing heavily, and it's obvious that he's reaching his limits. Oh dear, Keith, he was sick. Oh no, he'll collapse any minute using his magic this much. I quickly grab Keith's arm from behind because even if he says that he's gotten better, he was so sick that he had to skip today's party.
キース、無理しちゃダメよ。ここはおとなしく。
ダメだ。
Wow, he's gonna fight to the end even while he's sick. It's actually really cute.
姉さんを守るためにも、ここは絶対に引けないんだ。
Keith clenches his teeth, and even though he looks slicker than ever, he glares at Silva.
威勢だけはいいな。だが大切なもん守りたいなら引き際ぐらい見極めな。じゃなきゃ本当に失うぜ。
Then, as the tension is at its peak,
シルバー船長、手はず通り乗客の移動を終えました。
そうか、ご苦労だった。
Silva finally puts down his gun, but his weary eyes are still fixed on Keith.
俺は寛大な方だからな。これくらい許してやるさ。お前も含めて全員うちの団の大事な戦利品だ。悪いようにはしねえ。だが今後も暴れるようなら分かってるな。でもまあその戦利品のこの先の使い道を考えるのに健康状態はいいに越したことはない。おいそこの。
はい。
別に取って食いやしねえよ。お前が繊維だろ。こいつらの面倒を見とけ。顔色が悪いからな。入り口に見張りを何人か置いておくから、こいつらの面倒を見るのに部屋を出る必要があれば言え。
Silva frowns for a moment as he stops to look at Keith and the other patient. What other patient? However, that look is soon gone and he's instead grinning just like the other pirate would.
どうせ船の上からは逃げられやしねえんだ。おとなしくしといた方が身のためだぜ。
Silva gives Keith a final glance and leaves. Just as the door closes, Keith stumbles and lands on his hands, all the tension likely draining out from his body.
キース、大丈
Cold sweat collects on his forehead. It's probably because he forced himself to use so much magic even though he still isn't fully recovered from his sickness.
ほら、キース休んで。無茶ばっかりするんだから。
それは僕のセリフだよ。銃を突きつけられてたっていうのに、あんな無防備に。どれだけ危険な目にあったのか分かってるの？
With how stern his voice is, you can hear just how worried he was over her. It's really cute.
うん。それを言われると。
I heard a click and felt the cold hard metal, but since I couldn't really see it, I wasn't aware of the fact that he was pointing a gun at me. Yeah, but we already know that they're not going to hurt you and that they're probably not real bullets. Actually, he didn't even seem that serious, so I forgot about that and...
あいつらは海賊だよ。僕らを戦利品だって言っていた。間違ってもいい人なんかじゃないんだからね。分かってる？
いや、さすがに私でも分かってるわよ。
分かってなさそうだから言ってるんだよ。だいたいあれだけ顔を近づけられてるのに全然気にもしないし。
It seems like Keith doesn't trust me at all. My dignity as his sister is completely gone.
ああ、これはもう使い物にならないな。
No, his garden. Suddenly we hear a very sad voice from behind. When we turn around, the doctor is kneeling down on the ground looking upset. He's looking at the broken flower pots. There used to be an herb planted in it just minutes ago. I realize that all the flower pots are broken and all the dirt has spilled out. The fuss from earlier ruined everything. I feel sorry for him. That tea was so good. I reach out to pick up the fragments in order to clean up the mess.
待って。不用意に破片に触れたら怪我するよ。
Keith tried stopping me, but in that moment, I felt something prick the tip of my finger. Suddenly, my finger is bleeding.
ああ、もう言ったそばから。それ以上姉さんは触ったらダメだよ。
いや、でもキースの方こそ顔色が悪いんだから。
Is he gonna lick it like some other creepy romanceable characters do?
とにかく破片には触らないで。そこでじっとしてて。
I don't know why, but licking a finger is not very romantic. Okay, at least he's not going to. Keith is being stern, and before I can stop him, he walks towards the doctor. However, for some reason, the doctor looks frightened as Keith approaches him. Did something happen? Keith's face is stiff for a moment, then he smiles before bending slowly down so that he doesn't frighten the doctor.
こちらの片付けは僕がやっておきます。その間に姉の手当てをお願いできますか？
うん、わかりました。
Why is he afraid of him? The doctor takes a look at the small cut and gives me a disinfectant and bandage. Keith looks at the doctor and softly holds his hand above the scattered dirt. His magic gathers the dirt in an instant. Then he puts the dirt and herbs back in the flower pot that still seems usable. Oh, that was nice. The doctor let out a sigh of admiration when he saw that the dirt spilled was gone in an instant.
おお、いやはや、魔法というのは便利なものですな。
Oh. He was scared of him because he can use magic and he's a Quidian, so he doesn't know anything about it.
先ほどはあまりの荒々しさにその年がいもなく萎縮してしまいましたが、こうしてみると 大変実用的で実に結構なことです。
I see, he was afraid of magic. This kind of reaction isn't common in Sorcier. However, I'm glad that he isn't afraid anymore. I'm relieved to see his smile. Keith apologizes again after seeing the doctor smile.
あなたの大事なハーブをこのようなことにしてしまい、本当に申し訳ありません。
そんな、謝っていただくなど、どうか頭をお上げください。あれは仕方のなかったことでございます。キース様は我々を守ろうとしてくださったのですから。
守りきれたとは言い難いですけど。
え？
いえ、何でも気にしないでください。
He shakes his head and looks at the flower pots filled with herbs. He seems to be pushing himself too much. I'm going to assume the night scene's not going to be too long, and I'm going to go ahead and read this part as well. I can hear the waves in the distance. I toss and turn in bed. I lose count of how often that happens. Even with the lights off, I can't sleep. Silva never returned to the infirmary. However, maybe the doctor, nurse, and everyone else feels nervous. They all seem restless. I wonder if they're going to try to get to the infirmary like they did in Giorno's Roots. And they pretended to be sick since they know Catarina's here. Of course they are. We were all attacked by pirates. Since I slept through half of it, I don't exactly know what happened when they arrived, but considering the mess, it was quite a fuss. Keith looked so exhausted too, so... Come to think of it, I hope Keith is alright. He looked like he was having a hard time, so... Maybe he was in shock that the doctor was afraid of him. I look over at the bed next to mine where Keith is sleeping, and I see that he looks slightly upset even with his eyes closed. He didn't look like he was resting. It seemed like he was agonizing over something. Pull out.
Keith, 起きてる?
When I call out his name, he turns to look at me.
ん？起きてるけど。
Oh, so he is still awake. I want to speak about earlier, but just as I'm going to open my mouth, I realize something. It's past bedtime, and I can hear the other patients sleeping, so I thought that speaking in a normal tone would wake them, so...
ねえ、キス。そっちに行ってもいい?
Of course he's going to overreact.
だって、みんなを起こさないようにこっそり話をするには、近くで話した方がいいでしょ?
なんだ、そういうことか。
じゃあ、早速。
ダメだよ。本当に、お願いだから、もうちょっと危機感っていうのを持ってよ、姉さん。
He's like almost stuttering over his words. Cautious? Does this mean I might be scolded by mother again? No. Just getting into another man's bed. Come to think of it, I remember mother telling me that ladies don't make physical contact with their brothers like I do with Keith. After reading books like Taking Care of Animals and Showing Affection Towards Children, I tried washing Keith's back. That's when I got lectured. According to her, aristocrats don't initiate much physical contact, not even with family, so I know mother would be furious if she could see me. But I can't just whisper it from here, it's too far. I'm kind of concerned about Keith. My anxiety prevented me from sleeping since he seems different from usual. As I consider how I should start the conversation, Keith gets up from his bed and sits on the edge of mine.
それで、どうしたの？眠れないの？
He thinks that I'm speaking to him because I can't get any rest. I nodded. I knew that Keith would just tell me that he's fine if I told him that I was worried about him.
そうみたい。さっきぐっすり寝ちゃったからかしら。
そこは海賊が怖くてとかじゃないんだ。
あ、
まさかもう忘れてたの？
いや、そういうわけでは。
Yeah, it's like that. It's true that they don't scare me. They speak like other pirates, but the guards were nicer than I thought they'd be. They listened whenever we had something to ask them. I told them I wanted to go to the restroom, and they kindly took me there and gave me candy when I said I was hungry. I forgot that they're enemies. I mean, I doubt that someone sharing good food with me is bad. Maybe I'm just being this way because I slept through the attack.
あれ、そういえばジオルド様たちってパーティー会場にいるはずよね。大丈夫なのかしら。
ああ、他の貴族たちは部屋に軟禁してある。だからお前たちもおとなしくしろって言っていたから大丈夫だとは思うけれど。
え、そんなこと言っていたの？
姉さんが寝ていた間にね。だいたい姉さんはあの騒ぎの中でも全然起きないし、そんなに具合が悪かったのかと心配したじゃないか。
ごめんねキース。でも具合はもう平気よ。薬を飲んで寝たからすっかり良くなったみたい。
そういえばさっき何か叫んで飛び起きていたよね。悪い夢でも見たの？
いや、怖い夢とかじゃないんだけど。
Oh, I get it. Keith really resembled his child self earlier. Keith used to make that expression a lot when he was adopted to the Clay's family. It's almost the same expression as when he first showed me his magic. That's what I saw in my dream. Father told me that Keith lost control of his extraordinary strong magic and accidentally injured his brothers. That was why he hesitated when I begged him to show me his magic. However, Keith granted me my wish and I ended up getting literally blown away, unfortunately. After that, Keith was knocked out for a little while and it shocked Keith. I still feel guilty about the way I hurt him. Maybe Keith remembered about that when the doctor was frightened of his magic. I have to tell him that it's fine, that his magic is amazing and nothing to be afraid of.
あのね、実はさっき子供の頃の夢を見てて。
子供の頃の夢？
ええ、キースが初めて私に土の人形を動かす魔法を見せてくれた時のことよ。実は私、キースが見せてくれるまでろくに魔法なんて見たことがなかったのよね。私が使えるのはただの土ぼこだけだったし。だからすごく興奮したなーって思い出していたの。
そっか。
Oh, that's a painful memory for him. Suddenly, Keith looks gloomy. I can tell that he's concerned about his magic. After he hurt her, he locked himself up in her room and wouldn't come out until Catarina literally busted down the door. So I keep talking as if I were talking about the good old days.
そういえば、あの時は怯えさせちゃってごめんね、キース。
怯えさせる？って姉さんが僕を？
ほら、あの後部屋から出てこなくなったキースと話したくて、私キースの部屋の扉を斧で壊して無理やり入ったでしょ。
ああ、あれはさすがにびっくりしたよ。まさか斧で扉を壊す人がいるなんて思わなかったから。
いやー、キースが引きこもりになるって焦っちゃって。
Back then, Keith took the spare key and never wanted to leave his room. I thought he'd become an antisocial playboy like in the game, fall in love with Maria, and I'd get a doom flag, so I broke it down with an axe.
あの後、お母様にすごく怒られたのよね。そりゃあ扉を壊したのは悪かったと思うけど。アンにも私だったら恐怖で泣き叫びますなんて言われちゃったし。でもキースは私をかばってくれたでしょ。お母様に弁明をしてくれたし、おかげで夕ご飯抜きは免れたのよね。
思えば小さい頃からキースには助けられてばかりね。本当に頼もしい弟ができて嬉しいわ。
弟。
Yep, he doesn't want to be the brother.
私の自慢の弟よ。いつもありがとう。大好きよキース。私にできることがあったら何でも言ってね。
Tell me whatever you want me to do, alright? Giorno just warned you in his route that you don't say this to a man who's in love with you. Especially after you just tell him that you love him.
何でもって。姉さん、そんな大切な言葉、気軽に言うものじゃないよ。
安心して、キースにしか言わないから。
はあ、またそういうことを言う。
That's funny. Keith sighed and covered his eyes with his hands, but he didn't look gloomy anymore. I could only find the usual Keith. He's embarrassed. It's so cute.
肩もみでも肩叩きでも何でもするから、いつでも言ってちょうだい。
うん。ありがとう、姉さん。姉さんも困ったことがあったらいつでも相談してね。
ありがとうキース。
I'm so relieved that I'm suddenly sleepy. My eyelids grow heavy as I yawn. Keith's voice is so calming. It makes me sleepy every time. Wait a second. Why did I even speak to Keith in the first place? I'm sure there was a reason, but the relief is making me sleep now. If I remember correctly, Keith looked very troubled and something was bothering him, and so I couldn't help but talk to him and...
キース、私はずっとそばにいるわ。怖い夢を見たら起こしてあげる。
Oh no, I can't keep my eyes open any longer. I'll just tell him the rest tomorrow. And just like that, I'm off to dreamland.
Nesa, 寝たの？仕方ないな。
I can't help but smile at her. She said that she couldn't sleep, but she fell asleep as soon as she did what she wanted. My precious one, the one who I want to protect. She's always being her regular self. We don't know what will happen next, but she is sleeping just like usual, even though we are in the middle of a pirate attack.
でも、姉さんがあんなことを言うなんて、僕のことを心配してくれたんだろうな。
Sister's always standing beside me before I even notice whenever I'm sad. She never really seeks out to comfort me as much as she does it on instinct. Somehow she always says what I need to hear. She does what she feels, so I know that what she's saying comes from her heart.
姉さんのそんなところが好きなんだけどね。
Knowing that a person means what they say tells you a lot about their personality, and we are all attracted to that. I want to protect her direct personality, her smile, at all costs. And doing so means that I can't just let the pirates capture us.
姉さん、僕が姉さんを守るから。
I've wanted to do this since I was a child. I made up my mind a long time ago. It was when she told me that she would stay by my side. I was always alone when I was adopted into the Clay's family. My oldest memory is of my real mother telling me to shut up and stay in the dim room all by myself. I obeyed her and comforted myself. This is so sad. My real mother despised me. If I made the slightest fuss, she would hit me or force me to skip meals. so I quietly stayed in the corner of my room. After that, I was adopted into the family of a person who they said were my father, but I was neglected there too. One day I overheard the servants and found out that my mother, who was my father's mistress, foisted me to him. I was abandoned. Of course, my new family never welcomed me. My father, adoptive mother, and half-siblings never allowed me to be part of their family.
愛人の子が近寄るな。愛人の子のくせにそんな言葉遣いで許されると思うのか。
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
My mother and stepmother neglected me, and my siblings harassed me relentlessly, so I did my best to be polite and eat my meals in my room. However, I was still regularly punched and kicked by my siblings, and they did not lock me in the barn. So I always avoided my siblings, but that day it happened.
やめて。
I remembered something bad, and I broke out in a cold sweat. I look at sister as though I could cling to her. She is sleeping comfortably and the blankets kicked off. When I see that things look normal, I feel relieved. On that day, I lost control of my magic and I hurt my siblings. They were throwing rocks at little birds building their nest. I was so irritated by them that it was then I accidentally activated my magic. I will never forget that moment. I'll never forget the smell of blood and my siblings' screams. Yeah, I bet that must be really hard to go through. When they learned that it was my magic that caused the damage, my family began to avoid me. They were scared of me. They saw a monster. I couldn't bear seeing the fear in their eyes, so I confined myself to my room even more than before. It was then that the Clay's family said that they would adopt me. They chose me because I had full confidence in my magic.
そこで、姉さん、あなたに会ったんだ。
I cover her with the blanket she kicked off and look at her face. She's sleeping comfortably. To be honest, when I met her, I was scared to have another sibling. My previous ones used to harass me, and I did not want to get involved with her.
姉さんはそんな人じゃなかったのに。怯えたりしてバカだな、僕は。
Catarina never tried to harass me. No, it was different, opposite. We spent a lot of time together, and I never had an opportunity to feel lonely.
私たちは兄弟になったのだから、私のことは姉さんと呼んでいいのよ。それから敬語も使わなくていいわ。
でもそれは失礼では。
もう兄弟だからいいのよ。それに私、姉さんと呼ばれるのが夢だったのよ。ぜひ呼んで。
I was overwhelmed by sister's starry eyes, so I nodded my head.
姉さん。
I was finally addressing family. Sister looked so happy to hear those words. She taught me a lot of things and she took me around and introduced me as her brother. I wanted to meet her expectations then. I didn't want her to hate me. That led me to making a mistake.
危ない！近づいちゃダメだ！姉さん！
The dirt doll grew too big and I lost control of it. It blew sister away with its arm. It was all because I couldn't control my magic powers and still went through with making the dirt doll to grant sister's wish. According to the doctor, she was just knocked out after hitting her head too hard. Fortunately, the injury wasn't fatal. Nevertheless, I was terrified of seeing her again. I never wanted her to get hurt, and I was afraid that I was a monster with extraordinarily strong magic who might injure her again. That's why I shut myself in my room, but
近くにいるようだったら離れてね。
Sister broke down my door with an axe. No matter the barriers I put up, Sister always finds a way over them so she can see me.
無理言って使いたくない魔力を使わせて本当にごめんなさい。
Oh, they're so cute. As soon as she entered my room, before doing anything else, she apologized to me. I couldn't believe it. All I deserved was to be punished.
なんで姉さんが謝るの？悪いのは僕なのに。
何言ってるのよ。悪いのは私よ。私がキースに無理を言ったのだから。
姉さんは僕が怖くないの？
怖いって？
強力な魔力を持っているのに、それをコントロールできずに人を傷つけてしまう。姉さんはこんな僕が怖くはないの？
魔力がコントロールできないならこれからできるように頑張ればいいじゃない。私と一緒に魔力の訓練をしていきましょう。
There was a kindness in her eyes that spoke to me more than her words did. She didn't seem afraid of me in the slightest. She remained affectionate towards me even though I'd hurt her with my magic. Her eyes shared none of the fear of my former families. Never was I called a monster by her. She remained as kind as ever.
姉さんは僕と一緒にいてくれるの？
もちろん。これからもずっと一緒よ。
I didn't want to be lonely. Up until that moment, my days were filled with pain, sorrow, and loneliness. I wanted company. And I thought it was impossible, but she said that she would remain by my side. It was then that I felt a strong desire to stay with her, with Catarina Clays, for as long as possible. A strong desire to protect her.
それなのにちゃんと守れなかったな。
Oh, he didn't fail. I like his devotion a lot more than Giordo's. Giordo's is, you know, I mean, it's sweet. Like, she brought color into his world. He was bored and lonely, and then she just changed everything. But him going from being abused to being accepted, and then he wants to turn that acceptance into something more. He just like has a strong urge to just like no one will ever harm this precious thing. It's so sweet. I bit my lip in frustration when I remembered my battle against Silva. To protect someone is to guarantee their safety. I wanted to drive all the pirates away and protect her, to protect the whole ship, but I couldn't. You were sick, man. You can't. I can't make excuses about being ill or about my earth magic being weak on a ship. I mean, what are you going to do? You have no weapons, even if you weren't sick, and they do. And numbers. Being unable to protect the person most precious to me anywhere at any time, I could lose her.
もっと強くならないと。もっと強くならないと。どんな時でも姉さんを守れるように。
Two flags.
破滅裏
どんな夢を見ているんだか。
That's cute. He chuckles at her. Sometimes my sister mumbles weird words in her sleep. She doesn't even seem to change when she's dreaming. That makes me smile. But I can't help but look into her face. Seeing her so closely, my heart begins to ache again because of my feelings for her. I've been concealing them for a long while now.
姉さ
A
ん、
long time.
どんどん綺麗になっていくな。それなのに姉さんは全然自覚しなくて。
She seems so defenseless and so unaware of being marriageable, and that always makes me nervous. When she and that pirate came face to face today, she didn't seem one bit frightened. She's just so accident prone, so I can't take my eyes off of her.
姉さん、僕が守るから。
I draw my face close to hers and freeze when I notice that sweet scent. Catarina's scent sends my heart racing. Being so close to her arrests me completely. I softly place my lips against her cheek, barely enough to be called a kiss, then I swiftly pull away. I only kissed her cheek, but I could feel that I was blushing from it.
ジオルド様だったらこれくらいさらっとやってのけるのに。
Oh yeah, he has no problem doing it. Square on the lips too. That's cute. He's so timid with her. Though I can only touch her for a brief moment, as I look at her while she sleeps, I suddenly feel jealous of Prince Giordo. Well, of course, because they have the fiancé title. I want to protect her. That's why I've been training my magic. A monster with extraordinary powers. Wasn't she the reason I trained so hard to control my power? The power that ostracized me.
バイス海賊団船長シルバー、白暗の悪魔。
Remembering his strength sends a shiver down my spine. I was at a loss of what I could do in front of him. It was my first time feeling hopeless against someone else. I don't know if I could ever defeat him myself. I'm not sure I could even with my friends there. They said they took over the ship, so I'm certain that the staff controlling the ship are under strict surveillance.
きっとそんな状況で無計画に反抗すれば船ごと遭難する。むやみに動くべきじゃないのは分かってる。
But we must do something. Being captured, I can only consider the most likely possibilities. Either they try to ransom us back to our families or sell us to someone else. At this rate, the future is dark.
姉さんは全くそういうところにまで考えが及んでいないみたいだけど。
However, I think it's for the best. I don't want her feeling concerned. In any case, I will find a way to rebel. I will find a way to beat them.
次はちゃんと守ってみせるから。だからまだいらないって言わないで。
I don't think she said that, did she? I know you would never say that. However, I can't help but think it, and I can't help but think that a monster with strong powers can do nothing to protect her. I don't want to lose that ability. I look at sister sleeping on her bed and shake my head.
情けないな。こんなに気弱になるなんて。
You may think it's pathetic, but I think it's cute. Perhaps it's just because I'm still sick, though I can't help but be surprised that a human can be so timid as a result of illness. The snacks that sister brought from the party venue are scattered all over her bed. I open a wrapped candy and pop it into my mouth. The sweetness sinks into my body just like sister's kindness. That was an odd metaphor, but okay. Alright, we're on chapter 4. So that whole night scene was like, if I just would have stopped there, that would be for a short next chapter. But now we have gotten through chapter 3 of Keith, and we're going to do chapter 4 tomorrow. And I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below and or subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.